if there's anybody else waiting for questions, but I have one more that I'll get into, and that just relates to the risk of misinformation and disinformation becoming publicized in all of this, and people trafficking. And there are concerns, legitimate otherwise, about vaccines, about the pandemic itself, about the virus not being real. I mean, there's a lot of information circulating out there that might be considered problematic. How do you account for that in this environment and not necessarily amplifying things that certainly just aren't true?
Well, as I say, if people think that something is being said is misinformation, then apply to testify to provide the information. This has a self-correcting mechanism if people will participate and not just sit back and say, oh, well, that's misinformation, that's misleading, and do nothing about it. Okay, you go and testify, but understand that you will be asked if what you are saying is true. And that oath is a significant oath. That's why it's framed the way it is. It's not just what you're saying is true, that there's some truth there, but it's the whole truth. That if you know other sides of the story, you're telling the whole truth, not just part of it. And and there's nothing but the truth. You're not embellishing it with a whole bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do with what you're saying. So hopefully there's a self-correcting mechanism in here. And I'd say particularly the people that are afraid or concerned about misinformation, the best way you can ensure that that does not occur is to participate, not to just sit back and criticize it. Okay, are there other questions? Those are very good questions, because the credibility of this exercise depends on a number of things. It depends on the large numbers of people want it. It depends on the credibility of these commissioners. That's why we're asking people, who would you trust? It depends on the credibility of these witnesses and whether the straight story can be obtained by the measures that I've mentioned.